Hi, today we're going to look at a quick little free program called Adobe Spark, and we're going to look at how to use that to make channel art and a profile pic for your YouTube channel. Okay, so to start out with, you would go to spark.adobe.com. Okay, if you don't have an account, that's fine. You can sign in if you do have an account, but if you don't, just go to sign in. And it's going to let you sign in with an email if you'd like, or you could sign in with your Google account, a Facebook account, etc. And then it'll bring you basically to this create an account. Now, if you do already have an account, you can go to sign in, but otherwise you fill out this little form, and then you'll have an account there. And like a lot of these sites, there's basically a free portion of the site and then the opportunity for a paid upgrade to do more. But there's an awful lot you can do with the free version. So let's take a look at that now. Okay, so I've rather abruptly logged in. And when you first get to your homepage, you're going to have the choice of making various different types of things, Instagram post, photo collage, etc. What you want to do is you can always, through this plus sign, get the custom size graphic, or you may also find custom size graphic over here. Now, in order to make a YouTube banner, you're going to start with a very specific file size as far as width and height. Okay, and for your width, you want 2048 pixels, and for your height, you want 1152. Now, if these were a little bigger, that would also be okay, but I've got a template for you to work with, so this size would be perfect. It's the minimum size the channel art should be. Okay, and you wait for a couple of minutes, and your space comes up. It's got templates available to you over here, but we're going to close that. Feel free to explore Spark and find out all the cool tools. We're going to focus this video on just getting this banner done. So there are going to be some features in here that I'm not going to show you, but you're free to play around, look up other tutorials, etc. The first thing I want to do is I want to load up my template, and that'll become apparent why that's necessary in just a second. So I'm going to upload, and I'm going to look for, there it is. You can get this template from the activity in Google Classroom. Now note that even though this graphic that I created is the same size as the space here, when it loads in, it's going to load smaller, but you'll be able to stretch this. And if you bring in a larger picture, it's going to look small, and you can stretch it without really pixelating it. What I mean by that is if you find a background image on the internet, you want something that's at least a couple of thousand pixels wide. But even if it's twice as big as our available space, it's going to come in smaller, and you'll be able to stretch it without damaging it. If the picture was actually smaller, like say 300 or 400 pixels, then when you stretch it, it's going to pixelate. It's not going to look clear and crisp. Okay, so just keep in mind that you want images that are at least 2100 pixels wide in that area, and at least a couple of thousand pixels tall. Okay, again, I'm going to close down these windows for a second to get more space. I'm going to drag my template over here right into the corner, and then when I drag this out, you're going to note that it fits the space exactly if I'm careful. Now, with any image that you put on here, you can just use your arrow keys to nudge it into place. And there I can get an exact fit. Okay. Now notice that my template has two boxes, one inside another. That's because the big box represents the minimum size for channel art. And the reason that's the minimum size is that this may be displayed on a whole huge variety of different devices, from a cell phone to a large screen TV. And this space up here is going to display on the largest of those devices. But when you design, you want to get all the really important information in the smaller rectangle because that will ensure that it displays on even the smallest device. So certainly any text, the name of your website or a tagline, name of your, of your YouTube channel rather, or your a tagline or anything super important, the most interesting stuff should be in here. And having interesting stuff out here is great. You want something interesting out here, but this is the real key area. Okay, next thing I would have done is I would have gone and found an image. So very common way is to go to images.google.com. Now, if you're going to do this, please do the following. Please click on the Tools menu and go to Creative Commons licenses. This means that these pictures that are posted here, you have permission to reuse them. You may have to cite them, give credit, etc. But these are legal to reuse in your site, to redesign, etc. We all know that you can go out and grab just about any image you want from the internet, but that doesn't make it legal. It can be copyright infringement, and I personally know of cases where people have done that and they have been contacted and been told to take them down or face penalty. So just please consider that. Okay, another thing that you could do is you could do a quick search for free images. A lot of times they'll lead you to a site that wants you to pay, but there are some legitimate sites out there where you can get at least some free images to use for your site. You can see there's some free photos. There's a search for them right here. I'm going to go to photos here because I happen to have one, and I'll upload. Let's see, is it right there? Yep, there it is. Okay, so I'm going to open that one up. Sometimes it takes a couple of seconds to open. And once it opens, we're going to do a little trick. We're going to need to be able to see where our template is, even though we don't want it to be ultimately visible in our final product. Okay, so there's my image. I'm going to do the same thing I've done before. Let me make sure I have enough room here. I'm going to stretch this out. Now, I can overstretch this. Note, I can stretch it larger than the image if I want. I've just got to be able to grab it by a corner. So once I release it, I'm going to have to get this corner again to stretch it. And then I can position whatever portion. So if I wanted these chairs here and just a little bit of the blackboard, I could do that. Or I could have, mostly blackboard. I just want to make sure that I cover the whole template area. Now here's the trick. I like this picture, but I'm going to take the opacity on it and I'm going to bring it down a bit so that I can still see my image. Okay, then I know how to position it. I can decide exactly where I want it, or maybe I want it even more zoomed in here. And something like that. But I can at least see the template that's underneath. Okay, once that's in place, you can get more images and lay them over the top. If you've got to always be careful. If you've got transparent images, they work pretty well, like if there's not a box around them. But sometimes even those square or rectangular images, depending on what you're going to do with them, can work, and you can build whatever kind of graphic you want. But keep in mind, it's only this area that's going to be seen on all devices. So as nice as this picture is, his desk is not going to be seen unless I'm on a very large screen. Okay, so I've got to keep that kind of thing in mind. Now, your tools are over here. You've got a text tool. We've seen the photos tool. You have an icon tool, which is a lot of simple shapes, but you can use these to make boxes around things, or create clever little designs, etc. Other design assets. Anything here that has this little golden tag on it, you'll see is a paid feature. $9.99 per month after your trial period ends. You could sign up for a trial if you wanted, but know that after that's over, you would start, paying for things. There's backgrounds that you could pick. Okay, some that they give you, but of course I've just found my own Creative Commons free background for my own use. Logos here. and then you can create a library with your own, your own materials, etc. So what I'm going to do though is I'm just going to go to text. Again, this is a very nice design they give you, but this is a paid feature, and you can see that some of the nicer ones are, but there are various selections that you can use, or you can just say add your own text. And my text is going to be Mr. S's grade 4 math, and I'll say done. Okay, can stretch my box out. I can grab it and move it. Remember, I'm very interested in having this. It doesn't have to be in the center. I mean, I could left align it over here and leave this space, but it's got to be in that box. Oops, excuse me. Maybe get a little bit of that writing in there so it had a little better effect. Okay, and then anything to do with my text, all I have to do is select it. Like right now, the font is 105.8, but maybe I don't want it so big. Maybe I only want it, at size 100. This is where your various fonts are available, so I can change the look of it. There's a nice little selection of fonts in here. Also the option to browse Adobe fonts. Okay, and then depending on the font you pick, that can really impact the size. Okay, other features that you can have with fonts is you can give them a curved design or a grid design, things along those lines. I'm going to go back to normal. This is some spacing. This is a nice feature. Okay, I can give it a different kind of look by putting spacing between the letters. I can adjust that. I can also adjust the opacity so I can make it a little more transparent or a little less transparent. If I click this box, I'm putting a shadow around it. Now sometimes that's useful for clarity, and I can pick a color. It's even going to suggest a color palette to me, which is nice. For the real artists among us, you can build your own colors down here. So I'm gonna, nope, not gonna pick that one. Okay, I don't know if that's the right choice, but okay. There are also some simple shape designs you can add to it. Again, that's probably not going to be my best choice here because it's coming out of that target area, but know that it's here. You can, use that if you see fit. Yeah, that might be a nice one. Definitely. Definitely change that up. Okay. While you're selected on your text, you've got an angle, so you can grab it and you can spin it a little bit if you want. You can do that from here. Okay, this is the angle of the actual shadow. So here I'm putting the shadow above, and now I'm moving the shadow below and to the right. This is telling you how much that shadow actually trails the font. We can put an outline around the letters. That's often a good choice to make them stand out and bounce out like that. You can pick a different outline color if you wanted. Just drag this over here into a pure black. Another nice feature in here is that you have this eyedropper, so you can click this at any point and try to pull colors out of the image itself. Like maybe it's color I wanted dark, but maybe not all the way dark, maybe like a gray. Okay, so play around in here, play around with all the settings. This is giving you a thickness. Okay, so right now that's an 11. But I can make that thicker or thinner. So all the settings that have to do with fonts would be right there for you. while you're in the font control. Okay, I encourage you just to play with that. Also, don't be afraid to play with it over here, especially sometimes you can get nice little effects just by using these simple icons over here. So, you know, a dashed line around something, or okay, and again, whatever it is that you pick, once you click on it, you're going to get the appropriate controls that go with it. I don't know if this was the best choice, but you go and be creative and figure out how to make a nice pattern. Once this is done, once you have, you know, something that you like, something that seems reasonable, you're ready to download it. So you can basically download it here. You can pick a JPEG or a PNG. If you were dealing with transparent colors, which you probably wouldn't be for this channel art, but if you wanted something with a transparent color to have other things shine through, you would definitely want to pick a PNG. A PNG is creates a graphic with very good image quality and does support a transparent color. The advantage of a JPEG is that the file size, it's very often adequate, but it doesn't support a transparent color. And the image quality, it's a lossy algorithm, so the image quality might not be quite as good. Okay, before I start the download, I forgot one thing. My whole situation here seems a little faded out. And the reason for that is that I brought the opacity down on my image. In order to mask the template that's underneath, now that I have everything positioned, all I have to do is slide this back up, and I've got a full, vibrant, colored image. Okay, I mean, if for some reason you wanted some kind of effect, you could you know, do semi-transparent, but generally what you're going to do is you're going to put that back up to 100. Now the template is buried, we can't see it, and it won't be part of the final image that's output. Okay, back to downloads. When I download this, I'm going to, you know what, I'm going to do it both ways just to show you the difference in file size. So I'm going to download that PNG as a solid color, not as transparent, because I haven't set anything to transparent. And I'm going to call this test PNG, and that's downloaded. And now I'm going to download it again as a JPEG. And I'm going to call it test JPG. Okay, let's take a look at them now. Here are the two files. You can see one is close to 3 megabytes and one is closer to 2 megabytes. It's about 1.2 megabytes less than the larger one. So, you know, a more efficient image. And if you were to look at these, if this is the JPEG, this is the lower quality one. And then let me just go back in. And there is the higher quality one. And, you know, in a lot of cases, you can't see the difference. And since you can't see the difference, you might as well use that higher, lower, smaller image if the quality isn't any different. Okay. Once you have your images, you would flip back to your YouTube channel, and you can see I did a version of that earlier, a little different. I put this box around here. And all you would have to do is go to Customize Channel, come to the Branding tab, and then you would say Change. You would browse to your finished image. Okay, let me sort these by date so that I can find the newest ones. I'll take that test JPEG. And note, we looked at this in an earlier video, how we could, you know, use this to slightly crop, but you can see how the template that we used matches the YouTube template. Okay, so you can see that, yeah, on a desktop I'm likely to see right and left over here, but not so much top and bottom. So this poor desk, which is nice, and a nice piece, is not all that likely to be seen unless you're on a very large screen. And I'll say OK. And then we'll come back to this in just a second about how to make that profile pic, a quick way to make it. I mean, you can make anything you want from scratch, go back into Adobe Spark and have at it, have a good time. But I'll show you a little trick where you can get something that matches your site pretty well without a lot of extra work. Okay, so we would have to publish that. View the channel. And there, you can see. Here's my header graphic. And I'm no artist, but it's at least better than, better than having nothing there or taking a picture and not having it customized at all. Okay, let me flip back for a second to Adobe Spark. And I'm going to come back to home here. And I'm going to create another image. And this time, remember that image for the profile pic has to be at least 98 by 98 pixels. I'm going to work in 400 by 400. It's going to display the same size as if I made it 98, but it's a little easier for me to work and see what I'm doing in an image that isn't quite so small. So it's going to create this space for me. I'm going to use the same type of routine. I am going to first upload a template that I made, which is aptly named 400 by 400. On this template, you're going to notice a circle. So here, let me just drag this up to the corner. Okay, perfectly in the corner. Drag it out so it fills up that space. Position it with my arrows if I have to. And notice the circle. The reason I put the circle on there is not that a circle is going to show, but when Google takes this and makes it into a profile pic, only the stuff inside the circle is going to show. The rest is just going to have a background color. So this just kind of helps you visualize that. So I am now going to upload another photo. And what I'm going to take here is I'm going to take that actual test picture. This was the trick I was talking about. Now you don't have to do this. You can start from scratch, and if you love this stuff, just make a beautiful graphic here, be totally different than the other one. But reusing that other one has some advantages, or at least reusing some components of the other one. And that's that the color scheme, the basic style, all of that stuff kind of automatically matches. Now we're going to do that same little trick here where I bring down the opacity of this image, and that lets me see the space that I'm working within a little better. I could do this. This is okay. I might have wanted to consider actually I might have wanted to consider this particular thing. I think I would have liked this better if this was more symmetrical, if the dot was here and the dot was here. Although, that would be pretty easy to do. Let's take a look. If I come back over to here, I am going to go to my project, edit my project. Oop, wrong one. Let's find the one with the fancy font. Okay, it's this one. Going to edit this project. And what I don't like here is I don't like the fact that this isn't symmetrical. And I'm going to try to put in Mr. S's. Let me just do this. I'll double click on it. I'm going to change this now to 4th grade. I'm going to say done. I am going to download it, but let me see. Oh, my template was, I'm not going to be able to mess with my template too much because that was all flattened. But okay, I think this will work. And now I've got this nice symmetrical kind of look on this thing. Of course, I could go in here too and I could change this. I could, pick a different asset or a different way to format it, but for now I'm just going to keep it that way. I've shortened the text. I am going to download it as a JPEG, and I am going to call it for profile. I'll pop right into this profile pic here. I'm going to click and delete it. I'm going to upload the modified one. And I'll stretch it out. I like to cover the entire space with color, everything inside that circle with nice color. So I'll probably have to make it just a hair bigger. Oh, that's nice. I got the desk in this time. I kind of was a little sad that I didn't get that text in, because desk in, because I thought it was a nice feature. So this profile picture in some ways is better than the channel art. I am going to download this. Again, we'll do it both ways just to see the difference. Solid color ping. I'm going to call this profile ping. I'm going to call profile JPEG, although, you know, the file extension would be on there anyway, but just makes it a little easier to find. Wow, one is 265K, which is not a big file, and one is 46K. So both of those are, you know, either one of those is pretty acceptable. Let me come back and customize my graphics again. Sometimes it does take a little while for these profile pictures to update, so I'm going to change this to match. And even though 265 is not a lot, if the JPEG is of adequate quality, I'm going to use that, because there's no sense in having extra file size to download if you don't need it. Publish it. And now I have a nice matching set of graphics. And there you go. Okay, that's a quick tutorial using Adobe Spark. If you're comfortable in another program, I mean, if you're using any of the Photoshop or Illustrator, then you're pretty advanced. There are other programs you could use for this. Canva is one. There's a site called BeFunky that you can do a good job with, and I'm sure there are many others. So you don't have to use the Adobe, but use that same process. And if you're using another application, think about how you can get that template in place to get your sizes right. That's very important when you're doing this work, that the size that you're working with and the position of your text within your graphic, anything that absolutely has to be visible on any device, be positioned in that sweet spot in the center of that space.